more than like one thing open when I start Audacity, it will just randomly die.
More than one thing isn't like more.
You should get more RAM.
Computer application.
I have 5 gig in there.
That should be more than enough. Oh, whatever.
The tower itself is about to have its 10th birthday here soon.
That'll do it.
So, yeah, this thing is... I wrote a lengthy rant on my impending search and frustrations of finding new gear. Let's see. Record? Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Well, let me know when you guys are ready. I'll hit the button again over here.
Yep. Likewise.
Hold on, let me grab a pop filter sock.
Did he just say a filter sock?
Yeah.
A pop filter sock. You probably do.
Oh, okay. That makes.
There's
more
nothing wrong with
sense.
just using an actual literal sock. I've done that on my. I've done that on several occasions.
Yeah. I just dropped
work?
this. Yeah, it works really well. I lose almost all of the background room noise, and cleans out a lot of the spikes. And it's literally just a sock that I happen to have on the floor by my desk, picked up and ready to go.
Like a white gym sock or like a black business sock, or what are we talking here?
This particular one is a black athletic ankle sock.
I swore off white socks long ago, by the way. Not because I dislike the baseball team. I do also dislike the baseball team, but just because I think they look ugly.
Yeah.
I think most people have agreed with you on that one. Would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, black socks are the way to go.
Yeah. All right.
Not an Argyle crowd? No? Okay.
I'd be willing to try Argyle.
That's what I'll get you for Christmas. Okay.
Ian, are you recording?
Shit. I am, but Audacity doesn't realize that I have the snowball in, so I have to X out and redo that. Hold on.
There's just a... You don't have just a drop-down?
Yeah, there should be a drop-down menu.
There is a drop-down, but it's not in the drop-down, so I have to X out and redo it. No.
Is it listed in your devices?
Yeah,
I have no idea
I mean,
Windows or Mac.
Google knows that it's there, so it's clearly there.
Ian's Adventures in Technology.
This was a save changes before closing. Did I already? Yeah, we already published that one. Okay, good. No. All right.
Peter.
Yes, sir.
I will be in Seattle again from the 2nd to the 7th.
Ooh, that's quite a stretch.
Yeah, I will be there for that. Obviously, and I will be in Vancouver that Sunday for the final. So we're gonna drive up and just drive back.
Sweet. Wait, so you're driving up from LA?
No. We're
from Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, I'm flying to Seattle, and then my girlfriend and I are going to the final on Friday.
Where you are currently?
I'm in Los Angeles. That's where I live.
Okay. Pete's in Seattle.
Correct.
Pete is in Seattle.
And Ian is somewhere in the general vicinity of the East Coast.
Duke. General vicinity of Duke.
Hey.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, you just said that.
That's the one that everybody knows. He's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Actually, I'm in Greensboro these days.
Oh, well, he's in and around Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah. Less exciting than either Duke or Chapel Hill. But anyway, all right, I'm good to go. I've got Snowball working on Audacity.
Okay.
All right, James and I are going to hit record here. Everyone recording?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Get those clapping hands ready. So a little refresher, we're going to do a 1, 2, 3 clap. Clap will replace the number 4. 1, 2, 3.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, so wow, it's been a little while. Guess I will jump us right in here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of our slashMLS podcast. Returning from a long absence, I will be your host this evening. My name is Pete, username PunkRockPete.
My name is Ian, username Automascaru. And Pete, you should tell them. Tell the good people who care.
Why were you gone? Why were you gone, Pete?
I was gone for a significant absence as I was busy getting married and going off on a honeymoon.
Woo!
Thank you very much. Yeah, but I'm back now, and I am the same as always. I just have a ring on my finger, and
That's a very fancy one.
it's not that fancy. It's just tungsten.
What are you talking about? That is like gold and it's got diamonds on it, and
Well,
I think I see some trim on there.
You got to keep your pimp hands
filigree. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we got to identify which of the 12 rings he's wearing that we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me set down my chalice. It'll be easier to see.
It's not a chalice, it's a pimp cup, to be honest.
All right, let's get back to introductions.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, and I am James, username Nefarious Joe.
And with us today we have John Leonard, otherwise better known on the subreddit as JohnMLTX. What up, John?
Hey!
I would say infamous on the subreddit.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
sure.
That's notorious.
Yeah.
I'm our own personal Biggie Smalls without the rapping talent.
Sure.
So just a large black man.
If by large black man you mean skinny white kid, then absolutely.
Nailed it.
Hitting the hot button topics on /MLS once again.
So, guys, as I said, just having returned from a honeymoon, I will not be quite up on our favorite league as I should be. I've seen some highlights. I watched the Sounder game in its entirety. I tried to race home from my honeymoon in order to attend said game, but didn't quite make it. I'm sure John can fill me in on what happened.
We have to.
Yes.
But let's start with the league talk, and then we'll get into our various national teams that have been playing this week.
Should we go from the beginning?
Let's go from the beginning.
Yeah, I guess we could start with NYCFC against Montreal. That was a weird one, I gotta say. Like, I don't know if NYCFC is good or if Montreal just sucks.
So let's look at Montreal has had a super weird run of results.
Yeah.
These last like 5 weeks. It's been. Let me go to the results map. I love the results map function on the MLS website, by the way.
Yeah, it is pretty great.
And if you hear me weirdly pimping things about MLS, there's a reason for that, but we'll not get into that right now. So yeah, their last. All right, here's their last six games. They beat RSL at home 4-1, beat Dallas at home 2-1, lost to Chicago in Chicago 3-0, beat Vancouver at home 2-1, beat Columbus in Columbus 2-1, and then losing in New York City. So that's
where the Montreal being bad is hard to swallow, because that's a pretty solid run against some decent teams.
It is, and the two teams you think they would lose to of those six, or they would beat, is like going. If you were a Montreal fan looking at your next 6 games, being like, we could take those 2 teams. That's not the teams you beat. You beat everyone else, but not those. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, if you take a look, I mean, honestly, staying with the results map, if you look at the entire map as a whole, like, the only teams that are having, like, a good run of form are very unexpected ones. Like, you're looking at the Philadelphia Union and the Portland Timbers and Orlando City all have had, like, great results recently. And so it definitely gives me pause. Like, a lot of that is due to international absences and injuries and form and things like that. But it's very strange seeing like these teams round out into different ways. I mean, it's not quite long enough yet. It's not like Seattle, who's been consistently good throughout the year, and it's not somebody like, I don't know, who's been consistently terrible.
That's the thing. So we always
NYCFC, like they were.
We always talk about parity, and we talk about how any given Saturday something can happen. But for my money, for the amount of time I've been following this league, I truly believe this is the least predictable year in
Absolutely.
runs of form, in results, in road wins. Like, it's just a very off-kilter year. Like, it's incredibly hard to predict what's happening this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there were a couple of years where everybody was like clustered. Like, I'm thinking in 04, like Columbus was only like, they won the Supporter Shield and they were only like 12 points ahead of last place, but that was only with 10 teams. And 09 was similarly weird, where there were like 6 teams who could have made the playoffs on that last day, and then RSL ended up winning the cup. But yeah, this 10 weeks through the season, we figured, all right, the East is pretty settled. We've got our 4 best teams. We've got Toronto, who's going to come up later, and now just like all of those 4 teams are kind of, and someone's shouting at someone else in the background here. We'll figure it out.
That's my family. I'm muting
your family. All right, tell them to shut up. You're talking very important global matters right now. No, but like, and all of those teams we've seen suffer a little bit. I mean, New England looks kind of impressive in that Chicago game, but honestly, not really. In the New York and DC, we haven't done that great, and Columbus has fallen off a fucking cliff. I wish Chris were here to talk about that, but suddenly,
I'm sure he wishes we're here. If you were here.
Suddenly, Toronto and Orlando look like the 2 best teams in the East, and it wouldn't surprise. It wouldn't surprise. It would surprise me if Orlando made it to MLS Cup, but it wouldn't surprise me if Toronto did.
Well, I think we all kind of knew that Toronto would eventually, when they got it home, they were eventually going to start like really looking good. Yeah. I don't think that anybody really thought that Sebastian Jovinko said, "Oh wait, I am MVP caliber. Let's just do that now." I don't think anybody really saw that coming like in such a quick flip-flop fashion. But I think something that's true for them and as well as true for say NYCFC and actually a little bit less true for Orlando, despite the results, is that like they're finally getting that chemistry. Everything that I've been harping about since the offseason is that like the continuity in Toronto is finally starting to pay off. And Jason Kreis actually having time with his team. And honestly, people who were saying it's like, maybe him with Garth Lagerwey was really the only way that they were going to have a lot of success. I don't really honestly believe that. I think that Jason Kreis really is that good.
I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in 2 straight wins against Philly and Montreal. I mean, Montreal's uneven themselves, and they have had some impressive wins.
Well, the thing that I would say about New York City is very similar to the thing that I would say about LA, is that like they're finally, after months, playing like a team. It's not like just like a collection of guys kicking the ball around. Like you actually see them putting passes together. It looks like they actually have a game plan. And for both teams, it might actually, it's probably too little too late, but it's, even though we're barely halfway through, but it's...
Not in the East, it's not.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's like, the Montreal Impact with... how many games in hand do they have on everybody?
They have a lot. They have like the 4th best points per game in the East. Montreal does right now.
But suffice it to say is that we have teams that are starting to play like teams again, and then we also have teams that are starting to lose their pieces, and it's being detrimental. Dallas, Columbus, things like that. Guys who aren't playing as well as they were. Actually, I think that's kind of the case with the Red Bulls. Is that as Lloyd Sam starts being a little less impressive, the whole team kind of starts being less productive.
And I wish I could say the same. I wish I could, because I made a point several weeks ago that DC has a surprising amount of depth, and we do, except I feel like, if you have that kind of depth, if you have all of your, which we'll get to this game later, but if you have all of your attacking players that are really good available and playing, you should score more than 0 goals against Orlando. But yeah, everyone's just sort of everyone's fallen off a little bit. Columbus has fallen off a lot. I know Chris posited maybe like a couple weeks ago that it had something to do with losing Grana, which you didn't think he was too significant of a piece, but maybe he is. And what does it say about Columbus that he is so significant? Yeah.
For me, so let's just switch over to the LA Columbus game, and it's actually good because the sort of rounding out of the Galaxy and Columbus and the sort of falling off of Columbus, I think, are very linked. So probably the 2 most important, say, like pure midfielders for both of those teams. For Columbus, it would be Tony Tchani, and for the Galaxy, it's Juninho. Juninho has maintained pretty consistent form ever since he came to the Galaxy. Like, once he got good, he stayed good. Even when the Galaxy were terrible, like in the beginning of 2012, he was playing totally fine. He was doing everything that we needed him to do. Tony Tchani, on the other hand, and that includes up until now, Tony Tchani, on the other hand, has been worse in these past few weeks, and I think that the entire team is falling down as a result. Like, not having a good transition from being able to play from defense to midfield to forwards, which is something that they can't do. Like they've had a hard time getting the ball to where they really want it to be. They've had a hard time getting Federico Higuain like into games in a big way. I know he just scored, and I could kill Leonardo again, but it's one of those things where they're not getting the ball to their most important players, and I would say that the biggest problem with them is Tony Tchani. And if he can get back to 2013 form, they're going to start looking like the best team in the East again. I really do think it's that big of a swing.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, and it doesn't take a lot to make you look like the best team in the East, although Toronto will have actually a lot to say about that because they've looked really freaking good. Their last 3 games, like that San Jose game was super impressive. I watched all that very intently, and San Jose is a solid team, and Toronto controlled the game. Javinko is incredible. He might be, if he keeps playing like this for the next couple of years, he might unseat Echeverry in my head for best ever MLS player. I know that's a lot, but I think he single-handedly beat us a couple weeks ago. Like that goal from 30 yards out, when you really shouldn't, you should cover guys who can shoot from there seriously, but not really. Like you don't think about that when you're in MLS, and he bends that strike past Dijkstra, who I think maybe Hamid gets a hand on that, but maybe not.
I was actually going to say exactly that. I was like, I think in the case of a lot of times when Dijkstra's in goal, there's a lot to be said for the. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of him in the future. Is all I need to say.
Well, I think he could start. He could spot start, and he spot starts for us, and it's fine. But he just doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have the positioning. He doesn't have
the shot-stopping prowess, or the presence in the box, or the ability to
or the length,
or any of the things that you need a goalkeeper to do.
Well, but he started our the 2 games that we looked best. We beat 2-1. We beat Vancouver 2-1, and then turned around and beat Columbus 2-0. He started both those games, so he's done okay on occasion, but obviously.
Well, there's a lot of things that you can't just look at the result for a goalkeeper. I mean, we've had heated discussions about this.
Right. Well, I'm saying if I'd feel like we would be a playoff team, not a contender, if he were our goalie the whole year, just because I feel like we have enough depth. We have enough.
Possible.
Yeah. Obviously, with Hamid,
the best defending that happens for DC is in central midfield. So, I could totally see that being true.
And our best defensive central midfielder is away playing for Finland and not doing great. So, Finland's not doing great. He did fine, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, like Columbus, right? Like they do their best defending in central midfield, and with despite how much I believe in Parkhurst and Pogatetz, I actually think they're very, very good. They're not really the linchpin to their defense, and so you win in the complete absence of Will Trapp, and who also, by the way, should have been mentioned when I was talking about how they're not getting the ball to where they really want it to be, and the sort of lackluster playing form of Tony Tchani. You get somebody like Robbie Rogers suddenly looking like the best outside back in the league after having just come off an injury. He's out of form. I mean, he fucked up a lot in that game. Especially on his shot, oh my god, he did everything right and then just couldn't finish. Oh, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I saw that. So let's keep talking about LA for a second because
sure. Absolutely, I'm okay with that.
I'm really curious to see, as someone who follows obviously probably closer than any of us. We were talking about the difference between game in hand. We talked about a little bit about points per game, or Ian brought up the remaining points available. And when that was posted by one of the users on the subreddit, I want to call him out specifically because it was a nice little map, and my thing is taking a second to load. But that would be user Treble Spiffman. User Treble Spiffman posted this MLS possible points week 15, and it's a nice little graph where it not only has remaining points possible and total points, but expected points just using their points per game. So I was really shocked. I know LA hasn't had, a bang-up season, but I couldn't believe they are the third lowest team in available points. And so I went and compared results maps. So LA is one of only 2 teams, including DC United, who is exactly halfway through their season. LA has played 17 games. And to answer your question earlier, as DC and LA are the 2 that have the most games played, Montreal has only played 11. So they have 6 games in hand on the 2 teams that have played the most. So that's worth thinking about. But
hooray, MLS scheduling.
Hooray! So the point I want to bring up.
I mean, I know why Montreal happened, but that's 6 games is a lot.
6 games is a lot. Yeah.
Imagine
seems like too many. Well, anyway.
Imagine how fucking pissed I was when I saw how many games that LA was going to play until Jared showed up. 21!
Right.
21 games! That's insane! Before July! But sorry,
and
please.
To be fair, no problem. We're comparing the 2 most games played as well. So I would say it looks like the league average is closer to 15 games, so it's more like four games in hand. It doesn't look quite as crazy as 6. But the point I want to make is that I think that we're all pretty used to, in championship and Supporters Shield winning years, LA has traditionally had a little bit of a slower start and then roared through the second half of the season. So I want to hear from James if you feel the same way, because through 17 games, LA has 22 points for a total of like 1 point. Let me see, I had it right here. 1.29 per game. In 2014 through 17 games, they had 5 additional points. They were at 20, or I'm sorry, was that 27 or 29? In any case, they were even at this halfway point significantly ahead. And then 2012. I'm just looking at last year alone.
2012 was the year though that they
were really awful in the beginning, but 2014 they were pretty consistent throughout. But yeah, they did have a pretty slow start.
Right. So you see where I'm going.
I know. I totally know what you're saying. I would say that a lot of that has to do with in the beginning, Bruce Arena does a lot of experimentation, an awful lot, and he had to do it. He had to actually depend upon it this year, and any of those successes were usually taken away from him. Like despite Jossie Zardes being less productive, he was extremely useful to our attack. Jose Villarreal was in and out with injury and going away with the U23s. Mika Varanen took forever to round out to form, and he's finally good. We bet all and lost on getting Sasha Kljestan. So, the early season has been particularly disastrous. Now, they've managed to eke out a lot of draws, mostly thanks to the efforts of Alan Gordon, who is another, Juninho type who, once he got good, he stayed good. He just, took a lot longer to get good. It's...
For the record, in 2012, LA had 20 points through 17 games.
Oh, hooray!
So 2 points less. But then they went on to only lose 3 of their last 17, which is quite a pace. So, if you took...
Do I think it's going to happen again? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's kind of... So if you took LA today and you said, okay, from this point forward, they're going to average 2 points per game. So 17 games, 34 points on top of their 22. Even at that point, you're only looking at 56 points, which is certainly a playoff spot. Well, I guess that's hard to say in the West, but
it is hard to say.
Almost certainly a playoff spot. If you look at the rest of the team's trends, that would put you kind of solidly middle of the playoff pack.
Yeah, I think
that's 2
you get
points
the 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah, exactly. They had to. Well, I mean, in 2012, they had to go in. They had to do the play-in game against Vancouver. This year, they've only gotten better. The West has only gotten better. It's going to be hard. Sporting Kansas City is finally making a meal of teams, and even Houston is looking good. They're looking legit good, and Kubo Torres hasn't even showed up yet. Imagine what's going to happen when they can actually get a consistently, actually skilled player up front instead of somebody like Bonilla Garcia, who's as far as I'm concerned, playing a much more skilled player than he actually is. So he tries a lot of things that fail.
there's really only one team that no one really considers a playoff contender, and that's Colorado. But the thing, they could get a result anywhere at any time,
Right?
And that's kind of exciting.
But they're not a playoff contender. Let's be very clear about that.
For sure. But like in the West, everybody else is like right now. RSL is sitting with the second fewest points per game in that conference right now.
Yeah.
With 1.2, and LA is third worst, or third fewest, or whatever. And the East is weird too, because Columbus is sitting there at the fourth worst outside the playoffs, and we thought at the beginning of the year that they looked a little bit like world beaters.
I had supporter shield for Columbus before the season
so did
started.
Me too.
A lot of people did. They looked like they were gonna be fucking amazing, and
I mean, some of that could be scheduling. I mean, do you remember how, when you only play out-of-conference teams once a year and you were supposed to switch off about where they went, but LA traveled to Columbus 2 years in a row? We don't know how that happened. We don't know how they played 21 games before July. We don't know how, so it's like, it's all of these things where, like, when you look at, if you were to go back to that 2012 season, those first 17 games, what date was game number 17? It might not have even been in June,
right?
Much less June, much less mid-June, early June.
Yeah.
So, like, when you think about like the time that these players have to really, like, it's not about the number of games; it's about how many months they've actually been playing together. And with like the lineups rotating, and with less time between games for players to rehab and to get better, like for their injuries to heal. In the cases of guys like Dan Gargan and Robbie Rogers when they came back. Like, all of a sudden, the team just, like, lit up, and it's like, oh, wait, we can't possess. At least a little.
And LA has had the benefit in those late roaring second halves of not really having deep Open Cup runs, so it's not like they're splitting their talent,
Yeah, exactly.
And now that the Railhawks are gone, you guys are clearly going to go to like the semis.
It's we'll find out on Wednesday. But like on top of that, they do have CCL games coming up, and in previous years they would rely upon all of their young players who are now playing on Los Dos. And
that's true, yeah. But
so
you can still have a two-team and field a relatively minor CCL. Like DC and LA, we've got it easy. Like what we did last year, we basically played all our reserves and Eddie Johnson, and just won all of our CCL games, and it was great. So
I mean, it's like the group stages. The group stage is a total cakewalk, but like which is
unless
part of the
you're
reason
Seattle.
Unless you're Seattle. Unless you get a Mexican, unless you draw a Mexican team in the group, which they. Do you remember when they're like, they worked out the draw so that shouldn't happen, and then they like drew an MLS team and two Mexican teams, and then like it took them like 2 more groups to figure out, and then they had to go back and do it over again. Like,
that was great.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh man, I love my confederation so much. Especially since the former president of it is currently, in a spat back and forth with John Oliver.
Amazing.
Hopefully the fourth part, like, hopefully he knows not to.
I don't have faith that he doesn't know that. I don't have faith that he will not make a retaliatory video.
Onion Gate, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
How is CONCACAF so habitually inept? Like, seriously?
Because how many Americans are helping run it? How many Americans, Canadians, and Mexicans are helping running it?
Yeah, it's one guy.
It's all the Caribbean.
Even the Canadians are corrupt. Like, this is how stupid CONCACAF is. That
look, I can't wait for. Well, see, the thing is that that during this whole, as a result of this whole FIFA thing, we're going to find out that Sunil Gulati was complicit in all of it. So.
Oh, of course.
I mean, it's like he didn't actively participate, but like he had to look the other way in order to maintain his position. So, like, it's hard. Like in world soccer and international soccer, it's very difficult. I mean, I just feel, even as pissed as I was at the management, and frankly still am, it's like I still feel blessed that at least when I get pissed at MLS, it's over like labor disputes. It's not over things like Ray Rice. It's not over things like massive bribery scandals. It's not over like. Like I get to sit there and be like, oh, well, they don't appreciate the guys I love enough. Like, at least that's the worst crime.
Well, I think the worst crime is allocation money and then the envelope thing.
The player movement is a problem.
The envelope thing was a a little overblown because I think it was a unique solution to a unique problem. Didn't really care that much.
No, it is not a unique problem. The problem is that sometimes they just want to put players wherever they want. I guess the problem now is that all of their fans are internet savvy, so they know that we hear about all of it. It's not like
I asserted this when it happened, and I still believe this. I don't think Jermaine Jones really, like when it came out that New England was going to pay him more if he went there. He was like, okay, well I could go to Chicago or I could go to New England for a little bit more. Nah, I could take either. MLS, you pick. And so like I think
I really don't think
in my
that's
heart of hearts, that's what I've decided in my head. That's what happened.
I really don't think that's what happened. I think that they were in a position much like LA was the first time that they tried to bring Sasha Kljestan over, where like the team did everything right, and Chicago was like, whoa, wait, back the fuck up. We did everything that we were supposed to do to bring this player over, and suddenly you're saying that we don't get that player? And they're like, oh, no, there's this other rule that you didn't hear about, so we're going to bust out some envelopes. Like, that's what I think happened. Now, I'm not like one of those guys who said, like, okay, well, they wanted him in New England, so they sent him to New England. Like, I really do think that there was a 50-50 shot that he went to Chicago. But it's one of those things. They want players to go. They want players like Jermaine Jones to go to big markets.
Hey, speaking of New England
a bigger
and
market
Chicago,
than New England.
Who played?
They played each other. This is great. And I watched this whole game. This is doubly great.
Tell me all about that whole game.
Chicago's a bigger market than New England. It should be known.
I feel like that's probably known. That should be fairly well known. That
is it? Is it? No. All of New England? No, I'm kidding. Please continue.
Well, actually, yeah. If you include all of New England, it might be. And they're both like similarly really far away from their city centers. Those two soccer teams. My takeaway from New England Chicago is that it was pretty boring aside from Diego Fagundez's super goal.
World class, man. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but you could see that goal in the best leagues in the world, and it would still be impressive.
Yeah, it was one of those, oh my god, holy shit goals.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Other than that, it was a pretty even game. Harry Shipp wasn't super impressive. Chicago didn't have a lot of their guys. Americois was out. McGee's still out. They had Iguadanike. Iguadanike was actually kind of impressive. He created this flurry in about the 24th minute where Chicago really should have scored, and he had this really sweet back heel to Lorenowitz, who was a center back, so of course he couldn't do anything with it. But I wasn't particularly impressed with New England. I thought obviously the goals were great. But other than that, they shut out Chicago, but that's not that hard. When they don't, it is hard, but not when they don't have like most of their.
No, I agree with you. Like the good players on Chicago aren't great. They're not good enough.
Yeah,
with the exception of Harry Shipp, who will be great.
They didn't have Maloney. They didn't have Akam. They didn't have Americois. They didn't have McGee. Those are all big creators, attacking guys. They were all absent, so that.
I feel like it's not really fair to throw McGee into that group. It's not like he's been contributing this year.
Nor will he.
Is that finalized?
I mean, he's probably not going to miss the entire season, but by the time he comes in, it's going to be way too late to make an impact.
It's been a sad story, man. It's tough to see, like, after the way that things went down, for him to just.
But at least he got to do Mike McGee's day off and make out with Sidney LaRue.
I mean,
he'll be back, I'm sure. He'll be back, and he will score some. He will score a bunch of really unspectacular goals that make us think, God, how is he open?
The Chris Wondolowski effect, is that what you're?
Exactly. Yeah. Although, as you must be acutely aware, is that sometimes Wando is capable of something completely blindingly bullshit amazing, in a way that.
I want to say he's surprisingly good at scoring on the Sounders, but it's just not that surprising anymore. Like he is as consistent as you would like him to be, which is that he fucks us over every goddamn time. Like it's just like you said, he just pulls some crazy magic. Like he has some cloaking technology that players just see right through him, and like don't worry about marking that guy in the 6-yard box. That's not a problem.
Yeah, right. No, that's fine. Like, it's just Chris Wondolowski. Since he hasn't scored 18 goals this year, that must mean that he suddenly is bad.
Right.
Which is something that, like, I really do think is strange. Like, there's a lot of reasons why players start and stop producing, and there's this whole, like, very amorphous idea around quote-unquote form that's very strange. And when it comes to somebody like Chris Wondolowski, you're like, look, the guy is a poacher. That's all he's ever done. He can be neutralized, but you have to spend the resources on him.
Well, and
sometimes you forget to do that.
They keep secrets. Didn't we find out that Wondolowski played a year with a broken foot, and that's why his production was low?
Yeah, right. And that's why it wasn't. Yeah. But I guess now would be a good time as heading to move to the Sounders, who have kind of equally. They also have players who are kind of like in and out. Like, so Lamar Nagel his production has been way down despite his responsibility having gone up this year.
Correct.
So do we think that that's just a matter of like Obafemi Martins' injury, even though he came back today, or excuse me, he came back the other day, and Marco Papa being gone, so like to Guatemala? Do we think that maybe if people can pay attention to Nagel, that means that he's completely neutralized and that he, like McGee on the Galaxy, had to be ignored, or is he just not that good?
No, Nagel is just so much better as a striker than he is as a midfielder, and his numbers show it. So last year, when he was a goal and an assist shy of a double-double, he went 9-9 last year.
Yeah, but coming out of the midfield, wasn't he?
No, that's the thing, is that while Clint Dempsey was off at the World Cup, he was starting up top with Oba. And Oba and Lamar Nagel had some amazing chemistry together, and he was really, like, he was getting his assists from Oba, and he was getting his goals from Oba. Like, he had a great year with Oba last year, and consistently when he plays, particularly when he has someone like Oba or Clint who's willing to drop into the midfield and he can play that kind of up-top striker, he finds a ton of success. And he has an uncanny ability for a guy that doesn't seem like he has that great of ball skills. He certainly does from outside the 18. I mean, he had like 3 or 4 wonder goals last year from outside the 18, and for some reason it just seems like that's where he scores the best when he's playing up top as a striker. And I don't know if it's just the midfield responsibility that gets him caught up, but he is consistently better, striking than as a winger. He never plays central midfield. He's frequently playing as an inverted winger, with him and Marco Papa both cheating in and crossing sides to their favorite foot, and it's just... he's better as a striker, plain and simple. He won't have the same production this year, assuming that Clint and Oba stay healthy. Now, Clint is going to head off to the Gold Cup, and you're going to see Lamar start up top. He's certainly getting the start over Chad Barrett. Chad Barrett's a great guy to come in, but he's not going to start when other options are available. And you're going to see Oba and Nagel probably get that same chemistry back. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lamar have a better second half of the year than a first, simply because he'll be playing in a better position.
Okay. Something else that actually struck me about that game in particular was how they were able to strike down FC Dallas. I'm sorry, Jenna, but you can come in on this one.
That's my one-word summary of the game.
That was dramatic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show.
Anytime.
Yeah. But the fact that you were able to do it with a relatively patchwork midfield. Now, Michael Azira is sort of a like for like for DP number 3 out there, but you guys actually managed to maintain shape without your little honey badger out there running the show for you. So is that do we think the team's just getting better at doing that overall, or is it because FC Dallas is playing just a lot worse for God knows what reason?
It's the summer. It's the summer. It's Dallas. What did you expect? Honestly,
I expected them to start playing like shit, but I expected them to start playing like shit because they were decimated by injuries like every other year. But this year they're not. We
had some guys getting called up, yada yada yada. But
your best players were there.
No. You can't make that excuse. Everybody else in the league can make that excuse, but not. So really nobody can make that excuse except.
That's why I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying we suck
But that's literally the first thing you said, though. Okay.
No,
the summer.
I'm saying we suck every summer. It's a thing that, as an FC Dallas fan, it's like the sky is blue, the grass is green, and we're gonna suck in the month of June.
Mhm.
To answer your question, James, the midfield difference, this is a tale of two halves. Brad Evans comes in and plays in the position of Brad Evans. That's what he does. You put him wherever you need him to go. He spent the entire year as a center back, and he came in and bossed the midfield around in the second half because that's just the guy that he is. Without Ozzy Alonso, with Pineda playing terribly, you had Evans come in and change the entire game.
Well, I will say for one thing for Dallas is we had Zendejas getting his first start as a rookie.
17-year-old rookie.
17-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
Homegrown?
And, homegrown. We had no Kellen Acosta. We had no
Akindelli.
No Akindelli. We didn't start Teixeira. We could have. We didn't put in Barrios when we could have earlier. I think Dallas hoped to get the lead in the first half and then just coast. And they were hoping that Castillo, Diaz, Perez could handle it. And I think, honestly, when the Diaz, Castillo, Akindele feeding to Blas is a much more efficient system. And when you can have Acosta and Ulloa in the midfield helping keep that possession, we're a totally different team. And just losing Tesho and Kellen Acosta, we look dramatically less organized. The back line was just confused. We need Matt Hedges back.
Okay, so John, let me ask you this: are those guys like when I think of Dallas, I think of guys like Castillo and Blas Perez and
Mauro.
Center, not Mauro. I honestly don't think as Mauro Diaz as that critical, but your center back, that's really good. Hedges.
Yeah, Hedges is still suspended because of that mess.
So I feel like those guys are and so he didn't play, so that's kind of a big deal. But
when your captain is not allowed in the locker room or on the field because he's suspended, you're losing Matt Hedges, a national team caliber center back, and you're also losing that whole voice of reason and maturity. And
John, I think you're being a little unfairly critical of Dallas because at least in the first half, I think Seattle was incredibly fortunate to go into their locker room not down a goal or possibly even two.
I was actually about to say that. I mean, Pareja was one goalpost away from being totally right in thinking that the team that he put on the field could really get it done.
They really came awfully close.
My main beef is just in the second half, we tried to rely on this core team for 90 minutes, and if this were the Open Cup and we played this exact lineup with this exact subs at the same time, in the Open Cup it would be a totally different scenario. But in league play, missing Hedges is the big thing. Missing Hedges, missing Tesho.
Hedges is the guy that is missing when you guys lose all of your have all of your embarrassing losses, like that 4-0 Colorado game.
Yeah.
And that 3-0.
If he's gone, we're scared and confused by the 75th minute. It's like we only know how to play one half of soccer, and if things don't go perfectly through the second half, we start to fall apart, and that's exactly what happened. By the end of it, is just Seattle found the one hole in the defense for that first goal, and we never recovered. And as soon as Brad Evans is in there playing in his normal position of Brad Evans, there's nothing we can do.
And I think there's one more factor that I've been dying to talk about because I've been off the podcast for a little while, and I am ready to discuss. Ian, are you ready to recant the slanderous things that you have said about Stefan Frei? Are you ready to take back his league average and his not that good of a goalkeeper?
So I've actually been meditating a lot on our heated off-air debate about goals minus expected goals, because I've been thinking about expected goals a lot, watching soccer games, and I think what I've decided is that it's better than it's a stat that's better than shots, and expected goals allowed minus goals or whatever is a better stat than save percentage. But except for shots and for shot stopping, I'm not that much in on it as a predictive or how a team played stat. Because when you watch soccer and you think of the chances that are created, like so many times a shot doesn't even happen, and I feel like that happens about half the time. There's a really good chance a shot doesn't even happen. I was thinking back to that New England-Chicago game. There was this point where Lee Wen was on the baseline, like next to the 6-yard box, and I was like, "Oh God, New England's going to score." They didn't score, but I felt like they were going to score a lot more than like 4 of the shots that they had. So in that sense, maybe Stephen Fry isn't that important. Like, he isn't that good of a shot stopper. But obviously, there's a lot more to being a goalie than that. Like,
wait. I actually think he is a good shot stopper, like, as evidenced by the performance that he's had over the past 3 weeks. Like, the guy has had some absolutely ridiculous reaction saves,
he leads the league in basically every category.
I haven't watched
his performance as rooting against him for 90 minutes. It was frustrating to see him making the saves that he did, and I think even with a full-strength Dallas side, against that Seattle lineup, it would still be probably a 2-2 game.
You got Raimondo'd. It happens.
Yeah.
Well, okay, actually, I think this is a very interesting game to talk about goalkeeping styles, because Stephen Fry and Dan Kennedy basically have one thing in common, in that they're both like elitely excellent reaction shot stoppers, right? So, but when it comes to their weaknesses, they're like polar opposite. And when you look at the guys that are placed in front of them, you can see how like they're a complementary style between Stephen Fry and Chad Marshall is much more beneficial for the Sounders defense than, say, Dan Kennedy is in the absence of Matt Hedges.
Exactly.
So Chad Marshall covers for all of the things that Stephen Fry is bad at, which, like, if I were to say what his weaknesses are, really what his style of play doesn't really allow for, is being like a dominant presence in the box and getting up and getting balls in the air. Like that would probably.
I kind of like him in that, though, but granted, I was really paying attention. There's like 4 Seattle games in a row. I was thinking to myself, wow, Stephen Fry is really tall. He's actually a pretty good. He's a pretty good box man. He's a better box man than most goalies in this league.
But how often? But you don't see him come off his line and punch a ball away in like the middle of the 18 in the way that you saw Dan Kennedy have to do all the time when Chivas was playing that suicidally high line.
Yeah, and we had the same issue that night. Yeah, Dallas Hedges makes Becker more confident, and I don't like us having to use Michel in the back line. I like letting him get a little bit further forward, because Michel is not great on defense.
Yeah, no.
And
that's arguable.
I'd put Ulloa, Lloyd, Hedges, Zimmerman as a back line out there, and things would be totally different. And Ryan Hollingshead should never be playing defense. That's just a given.
But you guys don't really have a spot for him in the midfield, though.
Not right now, but if we sub him out for Blas Perez, who's getting older,
well, he's like your Davey Arnaud. Like, he's a nice player to have, but ideally he's not on your starting lineup. I do want to. He left, but I did want to say that Stephen Fry's no Bill Hamid when it comes to command in the box, because literally every time I feel like Bill Hamid comes off his line, it's Hamid's ball. The attack is over.
And that's how we feel about Chad Marshall. Like, if you're going to hoof crosses into the box, Chad Marshall's going to get them every goddamn time.
Yeah.
And, so Fry, not only is he better at that aerial dominance than Fry is, but I think one thing that James didn't mention is that honestly, for me, when you talk about Stephen Fry's weaknesses, for me, the first thing that comes up is the ball at his feet and distribution. Like, he is below average when it comes to playing the ball with his feet and distributing good passes, out of his box. And Chad Marshall is brilliant at that. Chad Marshall, you look at his pass percentage and the number of headers that he puts a ball 20 or 30 yards off of a clearance from his head directly to one of his players is astounding. And
his head is like Amaro Diaz's foot.
Yeah, it really is. And so you have that great, compatibility between the two, that Marshall is covering for Fry's weaknesses, and for that matter, he's covering for Brad Evans' weakness when they're paired at the center back position.
Yeah, when we have, say, Kennedy, Hedges, Michel Diaz as those four, that's like the Seattle Fry, Marshall, Brad Evans.
Yep.
And when the Sounders have Fry, Marshall, and Brad Evans on the field, they would an LA Galaxy squad in the MLS Cup will struggle to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, and then you throw Ozzie Alonso in front of that little diamond, and it's ridiculous.
If you can have Ozzie Alonso and then goddamn, like Dempsey and Oba on there too.
That's why we're just under 2 points a game this year, because
that's why Seattle got the Supporter Shield last year. That's why they won the Open Cup, and that's why they came damn close.
And if they let me bet on it, I'd have you guys winning the Supporter Shield again. Just because
I think Seattle might not get the Supporter Shield this year.
Why?
If only just because I'm not entirely certain how they're going to handle the call-ups around the Gold Cup and the international stuff. I think losing...
Everyone's got to deal with that, though.
Yeah, but I think...
We had World Cup last year.
I think losing Dempsey for those 4 games might be the thing the Whitecaps and Kansas City need to close that gap up just a bit.
Those people, too, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
So is Vancouver.
But
everybody's losing at least 2 significant players from the Gold Cup.
I think
it's also fair to say that Seattle will make an Open Cup run, and that will be splitting even more so.
Yeah, I think Seattle is going to... If Seattle wins the Open Cup, I don't think they win the Supporter Shield. If they don't make the Open Cup final, they'll win the Supporter Shield.
Here's why I think they're winning the Supporter Shield. Everybody has been uneven in the season so far, except for Seattle. They haven't had like 3 consecutive. Oh, they look kind of bad weeks.
Yeah.
Like Dallas has, and like DC has, and like literally every other team in MLS has right now.
Yeah.
Every bad loss has come back with a strong performance the weeks after.
That's why I'm saying only if Seattle has shockingly poor performances. I'm talking 4 straight losses.
I think they could win their CCL group, go to the semis or farther in the Open Cup, and still win Supporter Shield. I think they're that good. I think they're that consistent. I think they have the depth. I mean, they roll out lineups like the one they rolled out against you guys without Oba, without Brad Evans starting, without Ozzie Alonso, and they still win 3-0.
I know. That's the thing. Is right now nobody has an answer for the Sounders.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying if we take summer additions and movement and player loss and squad for the Open Cup, maybe, just maybe, that will be the thing that allows the Sounders to get, a chink in the armor.
Now, Zach, we brought you. Not Zach. You're not Zach. You're John. John.
Yes.
We bring on so many Zachs that it's hilarious. But John, you're a Dallas fan. They've sucked a lot lately. You had big aspirations at the beginning of the year, and I think a lot of people had big aspirations for Dallas at the beginning of the year. How do you feel about those? Do you still feel like you're Cup contenders?
Oh yeah, I still think this is a team that's going to go deep into the playoffs. Last year was close. That series against the Sounders, which, by the way, the away goal rule is the most colossal crock of bullshit ever. Because
I don't think you're allowed to complain about the away goal rule if you're the lower seeded team that loses it because of it. I think you're allowed to complain about it if you're the higher seeded team that loses because of it, like my team did.
I will say the reason I complain is Dallas was the only undefeated team in the playoffs. Every other team in the MLS Cup playoffs lost one game in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the sample size was pretty low.
It doesn't matter if the sample size was low.
It matters a little bit that the sample size was low.
If I'm doing a statistical analysis, I can argue sample size with you all day. But for the sake of the MLS Cup playoffs, when they institute this rule, one team in their series did not lose a game and gets eliminated. We did not lose in the playoffs, so we don't lose on the away goals rule. We are eliminated.
So in the 2010 World Cup, New Zealand didn't lose a game, but they didn't advance to the next round either.
No, yeah. I don't think he's making the right point, but I still agree with John. As a team that both benefited and got screwed by the away goals rule, even after beating, quote-unquote, Dallas, I already thought it was a shitty rule. I am not a fan of it. I have a really hard time. You know, we've discussed this a lot in the offseason about ways to fix it, and
obviously my way is the best. And
no. Well, unless is your way the one that it doesn't count until 120? Because that's how it should work. The away goals should not count until 120 because what that does is it gives the higher seeded team an extra 30 minutes at home to get that winning goal. And if they don't, then you go to away goals rule, and then if you're still tied, you go to penalties. So not only do you eliminate the craziness of penalties if there's an away goal winner, but you give a benefit to the higher seeded team because as we have seen year after year, being the higher seeded team and hosting the second leg can fuck you in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's weather and they get rescheduled, and guess what? You're no longer the one that gets to host the second leg. Sometimes you go and you get absolutely blown out in the first leg, even though you're the higher seeded team, and you're struggling from the get-go. So I really think the higher seeded team, we don't treat them very well in the playoffs as it is. They don't get a massive advantage, and so I'm 100% okay to give them 30 minutes at home in addition to the standard 90.
Given the context in which the away goals rule applied to Dallas, an extra half hour for us in that second game, I would absolutely 100% totally be in favor of that change.
Well, sure, Ozzie Alonso was out of the game. You probably had a pretty fucking good shot to win it.
Yeah, that's the exact thing.
They looked dangerous those last 10 minutes.
They really did. I was so scared.
Yeah, we needed an extra 5-10 minutes tops to put two more in, and we would have just cemented it.
Yeah.
And and that's something I can completely get behind that change, even knowing that Dallas will seldom be the higher seeded team.
And I think
because it makes more sense.
And I think the other thing is that it's already not going to favor the home seed, like the higher seed, as much as you want it to. Sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. Okay, let me start over. It's a two-legged playoff. The higher seed is already not going to get the sort of advantage, so you might as well optimize it for excitement's sake. The away goals rule makes the first game a lot more exciting than it used to be. What it makes is the end of the game, the end of the 180 minutes, a lot very anticlimactic, like it was in the Seattle-LA series, like it was in the Seattle-Dallas series. And it's like, oh, well, I guess this is over now, and they're tied, but LA wins. All right, that's cool. Right. Those extra 30 minutes, like that's, I had that conversation, I think, a couple times on Reddit. I was like, where I had this argument, it's like, well, I guess I would rather have the extra 90 minutes be exciting, like the first 90 minutes be exciting, than not have the 30 minutes, but I can see the point. But like now, that way you get to have both, and it makes sense. And it's actually what they used to do in the Football League playoffs in England. They would only apply the away goals after 120.
In the championship?
Or after 150. Yeah, in all of them, in all of the playoffs.
Okay.
So,
or 210.
we have two options. We can talk about my team losing against Orlando. I guess we have 3 options. We can talk about my team losing against Orlando. We can talk about national teams. We can talk about the Open Cup. John, you know about the Open Cup. I know about DC. We all know about the Nationals. What do you guys think?
I can do a brief rundown of what I'm looking for in the Open Cup this year and what I'm expecting to start happening tomorrow night.
That'd be great.
Okay. So, NASL got shellacked on my other show, on the NASL cast on Reckless Challenge. Check it out. The NASL just got destroyed against USL especially, and it means that we only have 2 NASL teams advancing to this round.
And later this week, shameless plug, we'll be talking to MG Hines about how that one of those teams did against New York City FC. It'll be exciting. Anyway, sorry.
Yes. So what I have looking at is there's only one real for sure match that I know is the most likely to be a blowout. It's going to be LA versus PSA Elite.
I really like PSA Elite.
I do too. I love an underdog story.
I love them from last year. I mean,
they had a very easy 3rd round draw against Ventura County Fusion.
Yep.
And
all right, so John.
Yes.
Who's got the best chance to upset? You got to go quick.
Okay, I'll do the upsets. Aztecs could possibly upset the Dynamo. I think Rochester is going to beat Philly for sure.
For sure. Even though it's in Philly.
Yes. Okay. Rochester Rhinos in USL play are disturbingly lethal, and Philly is not going to be able to help them. DC versus Pittsburgh is going to be very, very close. Crew could find themselves losing to Richmond. Colorado might lose to Colorado Springs.
That'd be so funny.
Atlanta is going to get blown out. Louisville could beat Chicago. Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis is going to be probably St. Louis win. I'm not sure about St. Louis. Real Salt Lake's going to beat Sounders too. Sacramento is going to give the Quakes a run for their money. If they play Wando, the Quakes, they win. If they rest Wando, they lose.
I agree. I think Sacramento has a real shot at that game without Wando.
I think New York City is going to not play a full-strength team, and I think the Cosmos are going to beat New York City.
Cosmos are really good. I mean, they ran away with that
NASL undefeated in the spring.
That's a big deal.
Can I just point out the disparity between the fact that the Galaxy come in and play PSA Elite, and the Sounders and Timbers come in and play each other?
It's just because they.
It's regional.
Well, yeah, it's regional this year. It was 2 years ago we flew to goddamn Tampa in the 4th round.
Yeah, that's why they've changed that to be regional.
They felt bad for LA losing to the Railhawks so many years. They just want to give them an easy 4th round opponent. Anyway, so yeah, that'll be exciting. It's always one of the more fun nights is when the MLS comes to play in the Open Cup. Unfortunately, it'll be the same time roughly as the women are playing Nigeria, but hopefully they'll put 4 goals in 20 minutes.
What happened to Wednesday night Open Cup games? Why did we end up on Tuesdays?
Because Dallas is still finishing stadium renovations, and they could only get a Tuesday night date.
Yeah, but that's only one team. The Sounders and the Sounders 2 play at the same time in different cities, and they're playing during the women's U.S. game. That is a shitty schedule.
The women's U.S. game will be over by that point.
I will say...
Oh, is it early?
Yeah, it's at 7.
If I were on the scheduling committee for the U.S. Open Cup, U.S. Soccer, my resume is in the mail, I would have scheduled the 1 and 2 teams on separate days deliberately.
Yes.
And,
actually, with the regional thing, I wanted to see S2 play Timbers and T2 play Sounders. Like, that would have been magic. Because
that would have been funny.
The potential for upsets is so awesome.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think that should be the thing. And then
if you're gonna go regional, all 4 teams are in it. Like, just make that shit happen.
I also find it interesting that we've only seen 1-2 team make it this far in the Open Cup. We did not see Los Dos put in the performance like they've done in the past.
Right.
Well, they lost their first game last year too.
Yeah. But the league, the way they've been playing in the league.
It's they take their cues from the parent club. So I mean,
the Real Monarchs are terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Real Salt Lake isn't that great
they're
either.
Just bad at soccer.
If we're going to talk about bad at soccer, Sounders 2 may have set that record for worst at soccer in American soccer history.
What?
You know what I'm talking about.
What did you guys do?
The kick.
That. The thing is, you gotta respect a guy who just goes out there and earns his red card. You know what I mean? There's no pussyfooting around it. There's no way that he's gonna get a yellow or get by. He is gonna earn that red. It's like when we earn our explicit tag. I get going and I'll just drop a cunt just because I can. And it's the exact same situation. You're gonna kick a guy in the nuts. Use both feet because you're getting suspended.
Yeah, I watched that and just winced and laughed.
It's brutal.
It's hysterically brutal.
Here's the best thing. That guy's been on the team a week. That's the impression. He just comes in, he gets traded in, he's like, 20 years old, and that's the impression he's going to leave with the coaches is, hey, I'm the kind of wild man who's going to get subbed on and plant double feet in somebody's junk.
He did. I do say, though, that tackle is technically legal because he did get all ball.
All right, with that, we won't even talk DC Orlando because...
Nope.
I mean...
Hey, you don't really want to talk about it anyway, do you?
Not really. I only watched the second half. Apparently
To quote Ian off air, oh no, we're bad again.
No. It's the oh no, we suck again.
Yeah.
From Waterboy, whatever. That doesn't matter. What does matter is I was concerned that we had so many attacking players available and we didn't score any goals. What I'm not mad about is that penalty. I've said this in the thread. I don't get miffed when calls go against us on the road. That's part of being on the road. So just whatever. Yeah. We got 2 minutes. Bold predictions. Go. John, you first, because you're the guest.
Okay, bold predictions. Houston get eliminated in the next round of the U.S. Open Cup. Houston does not make the MLS playoffs. Dallas wins the treble.
That is bold. Ian, I hope you're still writing them down.
Yeah, I got to start doing that again. It's really so easy. I just have to open up a document that's just like one. I've bookmarked it too even. I'm just lazy. Anyway, Pete, you've been ruminating on these for 2 weeks. I'm sure you've been thinking about little else on your honeymoon.
Yeah, very, very little else. I've said it time and time again. I may not be as knowledgeable as John, but god damn it, I love this tournament. The Open Cup is just my favorite time of year. So I am going to make up for lost time. I'm going to give a double bold prediction, and both will be related to the Open Cup. I'm going to say that San Jose starts Wando, and Sacramento gets the win anyway. Maybe it's in a dubious penalty call. Who knows? But I'm going to say Sacramento gets the win regardless on the road. And I'm going to follow that up with another USL team beating an MLS team on the road. Sounders 2 get it done in hilarious fashion. Real Salt Lake loses again.
All right. Yeah. I mean...
Yeah.
Hey, I got to make up for time, guys. Bold predictions.
All right. My bold prediction is that New England's just gonna have a bad week. They're gonna lose at Harvard to the mighty Charlotte Independence, who beat my Real Hawks. They have to carry that Carolina Open Cup torch, and I think they're gonna do it. And then New England's gonna come to DC. I think that game's in DC. If it's not, whatever. If it's in New England, we'll still win. It's not, though, because it's in D.C. We'll win that game by 3 goals.
3 goals.
Yeah. Won by Bill Hamid. No, I'm just kidding. That's not. I'm not.
Just a ridiculous chip. Well, God, I missed you guys. This was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And I've got 3 things to add for the end. 1, FC Dallas. You give us a $3 season ticket discount for the Open Cup tickets and then charge us $6 in fees. Shame.
Oh, yeah.
That's
okay.
fair. That's fair.
Good
2,
call out.
please do check out the NASL cast on Reckless Challenge Radio. We talk all things NASL and NASL teams, expansion. We just finished our spring season. We're going to have coverage of the friendlies and the transfers and the shenanigans and expansion rumors.
Sure.
That's available.
endorse
RecklessChallenge.net. And 3, follow me on Twitter at JohnMLTX.
Are you doing that more? Because when I followed you last year, you said nothing. You weren't a Twitter man. Are you a Twitter man now?
Yes.
All right.
He's been Twittering. I've been keeping my eye on him.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, John, thank you so much for joining us as always. You know, I'm looking forward to the Open Cup as much as you are. I'm sure we'll have you back on to talk about that. And, yeah, I guess thanks to everyone for listening. From all the guys here at the slashMLS podcast, we will see you for the next episode.
Bye.
Beautiful.
And stop.